Hello and welcome to Love and Align with Coco and Paulie. I'm Coco.
And we are Paulie. Hello.
Welcome.
Try not to look at the camera. Today we want to talk about spiritual protection. And
Yes.
as a segue from our last show on the Mancies, the divination, here is the Hierophant, card number 5 in the major arcana of tarot, since this is our 5th episode.
He's a pretty
And
interesting guy, that one.
he's pretty chill in that deck. And so that's about the Hierophant is primarily about like knowledge, tradition, guarding knowledge, tradition, and stuff like that. And
Right.
the number 5 is also sometimes I think in angel numbers it's referred to as change, but I think that it was appropriate for V to think of the Hierophant for spiritual protection because also the Hierophant can be for protecting things, protecting knowledge or tradition.
Yes.
So
I know I'm fidgeting over here. I want to find
it's
this
fine.
card. I have this
I'm just looking at your giant cup there, the giant purple cup with the faces in it.
it's like I can pick it up. It's so heavy. The in this movie tarot deck
Yeah.
that I have,
Hmm. Ooh.
this helped me. It's it's The Godfather is the
Hey, cool.
here.
There you
So
go.
I just wanted to show it because I thought that it was
Tradition.
that's what helps me remember is when I come back to this card, like when I see the Hierophant and I'm like, oh, like the
Mhm.
Godfather, like protecting tradition and um
And very powerful. I mean, lots. I mean, because it's
yeah.
major arcana, so that's what I think with the protection too. It's a lot of knowing spiritual protection is something that is. I wish we had known more about it when we got into doing divination and other things
Yeah.
more than we did. I,
Yeah.
I don't I don't think that is pointed out enough, in my opinion. Yeah, there you go. See, and you still got that little the scepter there,
Mhm.
like they're showing here, because I think that's presented in Raider weight quite a bit.
Right.
And he's
Yeah.
got like he's doing the sign with the two fingers too, like
Yeah. This
mm-hmm.
this deck is really cool. Like
I bet.
this was actually my very first deck. Um it was just my favorite one. Like
This was from actually that's interesting you'd say that. This was from my first deck. Oh, that's funny. The fool.
yeah.
Forrest Gump.
And then in my Golden Girls deck, it's Sophia. Sophia is the Hierophant. So, which is she's very tradition too, right? In the
Yeah,
Golden Girls. So, yeah,
right.
yeah, fun.
Well, and about protection though too, right? Because
Yes.
that's the thing. Tradition and protection kind of go together because it's that is there's always knowledge. There's even if it's nothing that's gate kept, of course, that's not what protection is about. It's not about closing it off completely, but it's just about making sure that those traditions or that knowledge isn't destroyed or corrupted or mishandled or abused.
Right.
And that's I think when I talk about spiritual protection, it's about making sure that my energy, myself, I mean, if you're not someone who believes in like energetic or spirits, if those
Mhm.
words don't work for you, it's just about like just the self from invaders. And
Yes.
I look at my spiritual protection as porous most times.
Hmm.
So things
Right.
can move through it, but
Uh-huh.
it's up to me more of like what is allowed.
Right. Yeah. And I think I know that like when I was new into all of this stuff and I would hear people talking about, protections, protecting your energy and make sure you're
Mm.
putting up protections in your house. And I'm like, what does that like? I don't even know what that means. Like, what am I
That's a
protecting
good
from?
point in the house. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of things that you would protect yourself from other people's energy in, I suppose, many forms, right? People sending you, just thinking nasty about you can
Well, what's
give
what's
you
a popular form of protection or something to be protected against? And there's some debate about this is the evil eye.
evil eye,
That's a
right?
big thing.
Yeah.
That's a very common thing. It's across many
Hmm.
cultures. It goes back to ancient Greece and ancient Mesopotamia and ancient lots of places about that. What can even a look from someone do to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you can do all kinds of things. You can put up wards in your house. You can wear
Get the
crystals.
blue with the white in the center as an
Right.
eyeball
One.
to
I have
look
one
there.
on,
Yeah, right.
actually. Right. So
And
I
on a
actually,
hat I have an eye. It's not like that, but I call that my protection.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wear it.
Keep an eye out.
I wear it on my left hand too because typically your left hand is your receiving hand is what
Mm.
comes in. So I
Spirit.
wear it here
Mm.
to, potentially stop anything like from
That's a
coming
good
in.
idea. I hadn't thought about that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's where we
And
try to only wear gold on my right hand and silver on my left because I'm right-handed. That was something. So it's interesting you bring that up because when we were reading a book on Witta, it was, which if anyone doesn't know, Witta is actually like kind of, and I might catch backslash with this, but it's backlash on this, but it's kind of where Wicca came from. And I only say that because Witta is like ancient Celtic stuff. It's more so in Witta, when you know which is your primary hand or side, like if you're right-handed or left-handed, that would be the one you would wear gold in because that is your earthbound. You're more physical because that's like I'm right-handed, so
your
that would be
dominant
my
hand.
dominant, and it's earthbound. Whereas spirit, like you said, receiving, that's the
Mm,
spirit side, so that's silver.
gotcha.
And we also found what helped V a lot when I'm trying to do a meditation, do a spell or anything outdoors. V can ground and then connect to spirit by moving my right hand counterclockwise to summon earth and my left hand because clockwise is actually to banish. So summon earth,
Mm.
banish spirit, and I blend those into then a pattern in the sky, which is summon spirit, banish earth. And I blend those together in like this kind of infinite, figure eight.
Yeah, that's fun. I like that. I've never heard of that. Or,
Well,
that's a
that
cool.
was my interpretation of
Yeah.
like what I found in Wicca, a little bit
Okay.
of LBRP, and a little bit of my own just personal gnosis again.
Yeah. I like that. And to your point, you can do anything. You can take any sort of no, let me stop. You can't take any sort of old practice and use it. That's not what I'm saying.
That's
Uh, let me not say that. What I'm saying is you could learn about some other protections, or you can create your own ways of protections, and that's actually a really
mhm.
good way that people won't know what your protections are. A lot of people put up wards in their house that nobody have ever seen, right? Only
I'm
they've
so
seen. So
happy, yes, that you brought that up because
yeah,
we were wondering today for that. I don't know about you, but for recording this, it's like, okay, what am I comfortable talking about
yes.
and what not? Because that is
Mhm.
very important. And I think a lot of us know the
Mhm.
power of words.
Yeah,
And it was a very interesting revelation when someone pointed out, you realize that we literally use the word spell when
yeah,
making words with a pen or a pencil or something like that, because you're manifesting it.
yes,
And I think that's what spiritual protection is about. I think is about it's protecting more of your energetic self by doing physical things, and that's tying this physical and the spiritual together
right,
like
right.
that.
Yeah,
It's
and there's a
the
yeah.
within without, right? And
Mhm.
yeah,
And there's a lot of like intention that goes into it too. I'll say like, for instance, I don't like to when I have to like go to places. I don't want to go like Walmart or something because honestly, Walmart feels evil to me. I don't like it. So, but sometimes you have to go there. So anyway, if it's someplace I don't feel or whatever, walking into the store, I'll
yeah,
be like, I'm a ball of white light, I'm a ball of white light, I'm protected, I'm protected. And I will sort of give myself like, if you can envision like a shield around yourself,
hmm
sometimes that's
hmm
helpful.
hmm
I
very
learned
much
that,
so. Cloak of protection.
yeah, when I
Yeah,
started looking into like Reiki and stuff, that was like kind of the first thing it taught you was to like
yeah.
envision like a white protective like light. So I try to
Oh,
do
that's
that
beautiful.
sometimes, or even like
Yeah.
I've had instances where like at nighttime, like if there's been weird energy in the house or something, like I've had a spirit in the house before, and
hmm
sometimes like if I get scared at night, if I feel it, like I know it's there. If I felt it before, I'll
Yeah.
just do that. Be like, I'm a ball of white light. I'm a ball of white light, and so there's things like that too that you can kind of
Yeah,
do.
that's important because then you're confronting it too. I think it's
Yeah,
very important to know that the giving into fear or running away when trying to spiritually protect, I think usually breaks down what I'm trying to do. Like if
yeah.
it's something where I feel like, oh, I need to hide from it or something, that I
Mhm.
think actually it invites in the negativity.
It does
Spiritual
because that's what it's
protection is
trying to
about
do,
balance.
right?
It's
Yeah,
yeah, because
yeah.
it is
If
that balance.
if what it's trying to do is make you afraid, and then you show that you're
hmm
afraid, you're giving it power, or energy, in that
It's
way.
very similar to how I know I was taught, and probably other people about like if you meet a wild animal in the woods or something, if you're scared,
Right.
yeah, I mean, you can't may not be able to prevent that, but if you really act scared, that's sometimes not the right thing to do.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that really is what negative energy is. It's very primal, it's
Hmm.
chaotic. It doesn't necessarily mean it's something that's going to, tear you apart, but yeah, just even walking into a store where you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very you're and basically what you're doing there is saying a prayer to protect yourself.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and that's prayer and meditation, I think, are some of the most accessible, easiest ways that people do spiritual protection all the time.
Hmm.
And that is the words, the spelling. Actually, you're saying words, and even if it's in your mind, so it's like you're casting a spell on yourself.
Hmm.
And V have heard a
Right.
lot of people incorporate this into my own practice about, like you said, that white light,
Hmm.
golden light, or
Yeah.
what we have seen is we blend the gold and the silver together because we feel that the golden light is the body protection, and then if you have silvery mixed with that,
Hmm.
that's even stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
However.
everyone sees it differently.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the important thing. You have to do what's best for you. It's the only
Yeah.
way it's going to work really well.
Hmm. Yeah. So I mean, that's just a couple, like, what do we talk about? That was more of like a physical or like an entity sort of thing. If you want to talk about like spell work or tarot, things like that, like, you know, if you're doing spell work, um, I was always told you always cast a circle, and I have always cast a circle anytime I'm doing any kind of spell work. But some people will do that even when they're reading cards or meditating or anything
Yep.
like that as well. So that's another thing. Or like, oh, I forgot I wear my hagstone. Um,
Very nice.
so that's um,
Well, and see, we have Frenchie here.
yep, and
That's
poppets.
for protection. Pop it for
Poppets can
protection.
be used for protection.
Hmm. I'm not
Yeah,
going to read the ingredients that
no,
Frenchie's made of online.
no secret. So yeah.
And
Oh,
that's the other thing. Gemstones.
oh yeah.
Gemstones can be used, and that's how we make circles. So when we do a lot of any of my spells, which by the way, when I say spells, I'm simply talking mostly about communing with energy on my altar or outside. I've had some stumps up, I've made a circle outside, but standing within those, if I am doing a prayer or a meditation or communing with an energy source, I may arrange stones in a circle or
Hmm.
move my hands in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, V really relate more to like the cross almost,
Mm.
spirit and physical, and
Gotcha.
then the meeting of that in the center. But
Mm-hmm.
circles are, yeah, they're hugely important, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's so easily accessible. Um, almost anybody, I suppose, could draw a circle,
Yeah.
and I think that very symbol right there is perfect because
Mm-hmm.
you are literally encapsulating yourself and
Mm-hmm.
saying there's a it helps to have that definite line that things can and can't cross.
Yeah.
Of course, it's also very good to pick up other information on this because certain things like children
Mm-hmm.
or possibly pets can
Yes.
cross these circles and they're not harmed by it.
Yeah,
It's all
that's the
about
those are the only two exceptions, right? That's at
pretty
least what I've
much.
heard my whole life has been
Yeah.
like only children and animals can come in and out of that circle.
But it depends on the intent of the animal, which is why I said pets, because
Uh,
it's like wild
right.
animals could be, but how often do people run into that? I don't know.
Yeah. Never know if you're out in the woods.
I'm out in the woods. I might
Yeah.
sometime. I've had
Yeah.
offerings left in my circle, so there is that.
Interesting.
Yes,
What kind? Oh, I was going to ask you what kind, but I don't know if
just
you want
from
to
the
talk.
forest.
Mm,
Well, I will tell you. So there was one time that, and this was shortly after a, a huge awakening that I had, and it was like the forest had gifted me with a magic wand. So I
mm,
think that when you see like the Harry Potter shows, people see
yeah.
these things where there's wands. Wands are something that can be used, but only as a focal point, which oddly enough, and I have a big, I'm not like promoting the Harry Potter films. I have a big problem with some of that stuff politically too. But the thing is that they even mentioned it in there because so when the forest gave me this, I
Mm-hmm.
was able to feel like this is now the forest saying have some of my power in order to help me with spell work
Hmm.
but it was only while I was in that place because I also wasn't going to take it from that forest. You know what I mean? It belonged there.
Hmm.
Um, and that's where I see gemstones as a focal point, for doing protection. It's something where you are putting some of your energy into something and saying, I need this to do a certain something. Like
Right.
I will briefly show here. I have my quartz.
Hmm.
And I have this close here because of the fact that we are talking about protection. And that's a stone I keep protected
Hmm.
as a symbol of myself.
Hmm. Interesting. So like I mean, yeah, I get it.
Where
I'm
I
trying.
place it, it can help me feel more secure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's very totemic.
yeah. That's what I was gonna like a totem. I was gonna say that, but I was like, oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
That's
think
really cool.
totems are important because we see those all over the world. People leaving things up as symbols of either protection or to celebrate,
Right.
a powerful place or to simply to tell stories. A lot of totems were made as they were a story to follow. So anyone who came across it could know what the story
Yeah.
there was.
Yeah.
And
It could
that's
be monuments or gifts too to like
information.
spirits or um stuff like that. Offerings,
But
kind of
you
like
think about like telling a story is like information. Oh,
yeah.
earlier you mentioned I said something about cloak of protection because you were talking about how like it felt auric. What
What did?
something about like being you were being held or I forget what I
Oh,
said,
like
but it
the
made
white
me
light.
think of cloak of protection. And while I was doing some research for this show, I looked up how monks in some part of the world do. They literally call it like for anybody else out there who's a D&D fan, like putting on a cloak of protection to increase your armor class or whatever. But this is more of like an aura, like protecting your aura. You are cloaked. It is
Yeah.
not that you are like you have a cloak on, but
Hmm.
it's that it is your. And I think it's
Right.
important to mention this in spiritual protection because with the circle, it's really better to think of it in 3D. Don't imagine when you do spiritual protection, don't imagine you're protecting yourself with just like a line around your body. It's a whole globe. You're encapsulated in this because from if I look at it from a scientific perspective, Coco, it's very much like your biome.
Right.
It's the air right around you and everything that you are exuding out into that and
Hmm.
taking in from the outside. But from a spiritual thing, so it's but my point is it's 3D. And so
Yeah.
from a spiritual perspective, you got to think of it like that. And I think I do some Tai Chi. Have found a lot of wonderful like bolstering of my protection feeling when I do Tai Chi because of the fact that my instructor has told me to imagine that you are inside a ball.
Mm-hmm.
As you move, you are like pushing on the outside of this ball and it helps you balance and do other things.
Huh.
But it's very auric. And I think that's very important to keep in mind with spiritual protection.
That's cool. That's a powerful visual to give too, right? Because it, I don't know. That's great. That's really cool. Yeah.
I think people who can see auras, that's a very special gift.
Mhm. If you sit still with like a white background and I focus on you, I can see a glow around
Mm.
people and objects a lot of the time. If I have if I focus, yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
that is.
Like somebody told I told Mikey one day I was like you have a very blue aura. And he said some woman stopped me one time and told me how blue my aura was. I was like, "Oh, that's really
Oh.
cool." So,
Someone told me was listening to music. I had a lot of orange spikes coming off of me,
that's fun.
like a lot of emotion. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should
Ooh.
maybe we'll like that's a
Mm.
little teaser for next time. I do know a girl
Yeah.
who has an aura camera and she did my aura picture
I've
at a
heard about those.
I
Sedona
did.
had some people who were doing that.
Yeah, she did the aura reading, the photo, and then I got like a full thing about my chakras and where I'm blocked and all the
You know what
things.
would be interesting to find out, like depending on the color that someone, if especially like in Mikey's case, where multiple people have
Mm,
confirmed the color of his
yeah.
aura, I wonder if that could aid in protection. Knowing like if your
Mm,
color is associated with, I don't know if it would be a chakra or how you would do that. Like
mhm.
what other discipline would blend with that to
Yeah.
help you? Because get this, here's my theory. Here's my total not conspiracy, tinfoil hat kind of.
Uh-huh.
Like, what if the chakra alignment is one thing that was just a bit of the puzzle,
Hmm.
right? And the other thing is, so taking those colors, you can know based on your aura, which is another kind of practice from chakras, based on your
Hmm.
aura, blending these together. You then know where the holes in your uh, auric field are. Because
Yes.
remember, when we see color, you're actually seeing what bounces back.
Okay. Hmm.
So, like, to use Mikey as an example, so blue bounces back. So Mikey's protected from blue. So he would know that anything that's not blue is what he needs protection from, maybe.
Hmm.
I don't know. That's
Yeah.
that's how I connect things. That's how my brain works. V
No, I mean, it's an
you see this
interesting
as, yeah,
theory, but I know too that like your aura can change too from
okay.
like depending
That makes
on
sense.
what you have going on, right?
Your
Or
mood or energy around you, or that you're
yeah,
okay. That
yeah,
makes
I'm
sense.
sure my aura
I don't
today
know a lot about
is
auras.
different than it was years, 2 years ago or
Sure.
whatever it is. So,
That does make sense.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Next time, I'll get my picture. You guys can see it's really cool. It's
Yeah.
like it looks just like it would, looks like you think it would. It's kind of
Yeah,
tied up.
bring that up in the next episode. That'd be
So,
sweet. I would
I'll
love
get-
to see that.
yeah. So just like circling back to the protection. So you just essentially want to protect yourself against, like, entities, any sort of like nasty energy, that could come from other people or entities or energies, stuff like that. Um, there's I think once you get in tune with yourself a little bit, you can kind of tell, like, I know, if you're sensitive to energy too, it's really important that you do
Hmm.
because if
Hmm.
you're reading cards or you're trying to tap into your intuition or meditating or something like that, and you're feeling someone else's energy, it's really hard to decipher, right? So,
Yeah.
just really trying to get centered and
It keeps you
whatever
from
it is.
getting distracted in just about
Yeah.
anything. Spiritual
Hmm.
protection, I think, is good at any
Yes.
time because, in my own personal beliefs, I feel that we are always with our spirits, with our spirit
Yes.
guides, with our deities,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call them. And I think when you brought up entities, that's important too. When I talk about like making sure spiritual protection is very customized for you, for the
Yeah.
person who's doing it, not everyone believes in spiritual entities, or some people only
Hmm.
believe there's one God and
Yeah.
nothing else, or there's, I don't know, there's such a
Well,
myriad of beliefs. So I just wanted to point out that when you mention entities, it is whatever that word means to the person.
yeah.
It could be a particular, it may only be one, it could be you're only afraid of the devil.
Mhm.
I don't know, the Christian
Right.
devil. It could be
Yes.
though that you're afraid of multiple demons. But
Right.
but don't worry about so much what you're afraid of. Remember,
Mhm.
just remember what you don't, it's what you don't want to have as a part of you, I
Right.
think. And so when you
Yeah.
say entities, it doesn't necessarily have to even embody a particular like human type of form.
Uh,
It can just be a idea and concept. It's just
yeah.
whatever you don't want to have as part of yourself.
Right.
Energy works so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I think I was,
Vibration. Sorry.
yeah. I think probably when I was saying that, I was relating it a little bit to like tarot and stuff because,
True.
when,
Well, VC is entities. I mean, we see that.
yeah,
That's how we see spirits.
right. But like if you're, so for instance, like with tarot, you can, you can determine who you're talking to. So if I take my cards and I say, I want to talk to Hecate, and you can sit and you can channel and you can, but you need to protect yourself and channel, and you can channel from her. You need to make sure that you making sure you're getting the message who you're trying to get the message from. If
Right.
you're trying to get the message from yourself, from source, God, spirit, whatever it is, your angels, your ancestor, my nana, whatever the case is,
Hmm.
it's important to center the energy and protect from anything else that might be trying to come in. Because again, just going back to spirits, if you believe in that stuff, there's stuff that'll push through. There's stuff that, doesn't, I don't know. You never know. So it's more just about like making sure you're getting good information, that's intended
Good
and
info. Yeah. Yeah.
pure.
Where your energy wants to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. All right.
I hope that's
Well,
clear.
yeah, let us know what you think. Please make some comments here and let us know what your protection ideas might
Yeah.
be, or what you want info on, or what you would like
Yeah.
to
You
know
know,
more about that's available for protection,
yeah.
because it
Oh,
can be hard to find. And I think it's very important here to not be too desperate for spiritual protection. You know what you want
right.
best. Be very careful of charlatans and snake oil salesmen and things like that, because yeah.
Hmm.
So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the whole point. Protect
Yeah.
yourself. And I
I was,
think these days that's awesome because we need more safe places, and
mhm.
people are more sensitive and caring now. And I think that's good. We're no longer dismissing that. We're no longer saying, oh, don't be so sensitive. At least a lot of people I know aren't saying that. So we
Yeah,
can only hope that that wins. Love wins,
it does.
and
Hmm.
love protects.
It does. It does. It's, and it's important to have somebody around that will remind you of what your love can do. So I'll just add that. It's important. Yeah. Excuse me.
Awesome.
So yeah, so I don't know what we'll talk about next time, but we really hope that you
Give
will
us some
watch the video
suggestions.
and leave us some comments, and don't make me have to leave the comment from another account about what we talk about next time.
Only when high.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, yeah. Well, it was great. We hope to
Thank
see
you
you
for being here.
next time.
See you again soon.
Okay.
Love and a line.
Bye.
Peace.